adequate technique to discipline and manage our kids, what other things are we doing that maybe aren't so great in our educational system? So this is a quick image, and yeah, these are real, okay? This isn't like outliers. You know, I know it's vulgar, but you know, this isn't, quiet little incidents. I mean, these are happening in 20 states, and a quarter of these kids are having to seek medical attention by the hands of federally or state-funded educators. You know, I have this formula that I created, and I gave a speech once about authenticity and about kind of create this formula. And one of the components of the formula is what I call the imagine factor, right? Where the imagine factor, in order to kind of really properly imagine the future, you have to divide the future by a loyalty to the past, right? If you're overly nostalgic, you get nostalgia paralysis. And we think about our educational system, and we think about nostalgia and the future, the past, and today. There are some issues that are pertinent to an education system that really still looks like we're servicing an agrarian population. It's not really like the green movement. You know, if we're going to mainstream this cause, mainstream education reform as like a movement, get people fired the fuck up. It's not like you go down to Home Depot and screw in a light bulb and feel a sense of gratification. This one's a lot messier. This one's a lot more granular. You know, we've seen, you know, like this is a video, and right now the audio is not working, but this is just a video. It's okay. This is a video that was used for Waiting to Superman. You've seen this. We're ranked 14th in the world, and, you know, we've all been waiting for Superman, right? But it seems like he's taking a nap, right? In terms of creating, being able to get through the kryptonite, which is on a hyper-local level. That's the thing about the educational system and what it's going to take to really reform it. I mean, you got to be willing to take it on the nose. Despite what people want to say, right, left, you know, Republican, Dems, right, it is a political issue when it comes down to the hyperlocal. You know, the media gets a little inside baseball, right? It's Michelle Rhee, Randy Weingarten, the head of the teachers' unions, voucher schools this, charter schools that. It's all 500, you know, RBI, 500 batting average, you know, 72 RBI stuff. And it's really hard and difficult to mainstream the conversation of education reform deploying these traditional kind of politically correct mechanisms of talking about education reform. We really need our Smokey the Bear. Now, I don't know if any folks, if there's folks here in the room that know this reference. I kind of date myself by pointing to Smokey the Bear. You know Smokey. All right, okay. So, or buckle up for safety, right? Buckle up for safety. Why? Who's got kids here in the audience? How many of you wear seatbelts? Right? How many don't? A couple. Oh, you know, you kind of raise your hand. All right, well, the point is, that was changed by federal mandate. That's why we all wear seatbelts. That's why hopefully we're better for it. So I thought, well, how can I create an AIR campaign? How can I take my marketing know-how, the kind of efforts I used to do the Barry Bonds ball, when I bought the Bonds ball, or when I painted President Bush's Air Force One, and I sprayed Still Free on it. Like, how can I take a little bit of my P.T. Barnum magic and apply it to the education reform space? And that's where Fight the Paddle on Unlimited Justice came. So about 8 weeks ago, we started, or 3 months ago or so, we started on this crusade. And when we started, in 20 states, it was legal to physically discipline students in schools. 20 states, Louisiana, Texas, Florida. Break down a whole map for you in a moment. And we look at the unemployment and underemployment rates, okay, relative to 2008 and watching it here scaling, seeing the fact that the underemployment with a degree today, even with college degrees, is getting greater. We know this. We know how the economy is working. This is an interesting map. When we look at this map, take a picture of all the states that are in yellow. These are states with like 50% to 60% graduation rates. Now, check this out. This is a map of where it's legal in America to corporately punish. In fact, of the 10 lowest performing states in the Union, 8 of them are CP states. Wonder if that's a symptom of something else. So how do we become united? How do we take the asterisk off the map? Get it to be all 50 stars instead of 30 stars. That was the intent of this campaign. So I started with the obvious. I bought some outdoor media, some controversial billboards, right? And, you know, took some pot shots at some politicians, and I made an app. And if you have an iPhone, I encourage you to download the Unlimited Justice app. What's so cool about the app? It's got some gaming mechanics indeed, but the game mechanics that it refers to have maybe a different meaning than a typical kind of check-ins. Essentially, we allow you to reach out to any legislator, email to fax, every attorney general, representative, governor, across all 50 states, and we put a deep emphasis in the 2 states where we had legislation working. Might I say, without a lobbyist, right? So this was our booth that we launched at South by Southwest, where you could come get paddled and see that it wasn't really a joke, that it actually hurts. And I'm proud to say that in these short 3 months, what was 20 states is now 19 states. And this is in proof of social media and its value and kind of going inside out, and as a corporate leader, taking a position on something that's a little bit like not so, you know, politically, like, is it really happening? Or, you know, spare the rod, spoil the child. You start getting it. Don't tell me, an out-of-towner guy who makes sweatshirts from New York had to govern my kids in school. Like, you can imagine the gamut of shit that I have heard on this issue. But yes, people defend the right to discipline kids this way. All right, there was a principal, vice principal in Texas, where I represented one kid in Texas who got paddled at 16 years old for chewing gum. The vice principal had a sign in the office. It said, "The beating shall continue until morale improves." 2011. So, because Susana Martinez, the good governor, the reps and the congressmen and women of New Mexico, we managed to flip New Mexico. We created an app. The app, 125,000 downloads in a week. We launched it at South by Southwest, and we're continuing the fight. And it's crazy. 10 years ago, I started an organization, not-for-profit, called Sweat Equity Education. And in these 3 months, I feel like I've done more education reform in 3 months than I've managed to do in 10 years. And that shows you the power of social media. I encourage you guys to check it out. Thank you for having me today. It's unlimitedjustice.com. I know what does this have to do with fashion? Well, you know, what does anything have to do with fashion besides, you know, not being naked? So thanks for having me. You know, I'll see y'all later. Peace. I'll come back to get my